Yeah. Hi, everyone. All right. Today, as promised, Mo, you're going to be the one who's leading this show.
So I'm leading you, like we're just gonna switch roles, and I'm running
Yeah.
things. All right. So today, hello world. It's Mo here, the unpolitician, alongside Lin Su, future politician. Uh, so yeah, we're just gonna jump right on in. Unfortunately, we're missing our third guest host, Bill Reichener, but Bill's on the campaign trail, and apparently it's getting thick out there, which is a good thing. Bill's
Yeah.
out, he's still in the war. We're on the sidelines here rooting him on, but unfortunately, that means he's sometimes going to be unavailable. So, wishing him all the best of luck on the campaign trail. But as far
Yes.
as tonight, go ahead. What were you saying? You were saying something?
Yes. Yes. I'm just agreeing with you.
Awesome, awesome. So
Hmm.
tonight we're going to go ahead and cover some of the things that we may not have had time for last week. Last week obviously was the 9/11 weekend. So we definitely want to touch on that because even to right now, it seems as though no one even brought it up at all. And that's normally one of the things that are like, it's really big in September. Even before we get to September, it's something that we start to remember as 9/11. And this year it went by without even a peep. So we're going to touch on that and see, what happened to 9/11 this year. Where did it go? As well as, the passing of Queen Elizabeth. We did want to touch on that from our perspective and how it impacts us and some other topics. So which one do we want to start with? 9/11, or that was important?
Let's start with something lighter. How about like the Queen, like a little farther away
The,
from us?
the Queen's lighter.
Well, I mean, like she's farther away from us, we're less
Okay,
affected by the change and all the transitions and all that other stuff. Not to
yeah,
say that it
true.
actually will
Let me adjust
affect,
my light
like,
here. It feels like I'm staring into the sun. There we go.
oh gosh, yeah, you're right. I'm a little dark, huh?
No, you're fine. It's just me. I feel
Am
as
I
though like I'm
fine? Okay, well,
like
I
I'm on
hope so. As soon as when the sun
stage. I'm on
sets.
stage or something. Let me see here. We're working on the in-home studio stuff. So as time progresses, hopefully it all gets better. But yeah, so the Queen. The Queen, like this is something that I don't know how other people feel about the Queen and her being alive in their lifetime, but for me, like Queen Elizabeth's been like a name used forever, and she almost seemed immortal to some degree. She's the only monarch that I've been aware of in my lifetime, that's been on the news or heavily recognized. So she seemed immortal. So and it's like
It
you
seemed
like
immortal.
she did. She really did. And it's like as she got up there in age, you're like, she's 92. I remember when she was like 92. I'm like, she's 92. That's it. Well, she was like 120, but she's only 92. I'm like, man, she's getting up there. What happens when she gets to 93 and 94? Like when does the queen, and she's got to have the best healthcare in like the entire world. So you
Yeah.
figure if anyone's making it to 100 plus, it's the queen.
Yeah, but I mean,
So when
people
I
have their health, their genetics or
yeah,
whatever,
but they're
right?
not
So
queens.
I
They're
know,
not
right?
queens.
Like
Like
that should be engineered already. No,
you.
no, but yeah, I feels like she's been there forever. So her and the Thai king are both actually probably the longest reigning monarchs in the world, right? So I
What was
think
his reign?
our king passed away in like I don't know 16, 17, sometime like a couple of years ago. And
Okay.
yeah, but I don't know. I don't at this point. I don't know who reigned longer. But the whole point is,
Mhm.
I think like for both monarchs, like how I see there's like a parallel, and like Thai communities, we kind of like want to mimic like how the Brits do things. Like they would
Right.
educate their kids, or the former generation of wealthy children would always go to school in England,
Right.
come back with a nice
Right.
accent and a stiff upper lip. But but they are
That explains Crazy Rich Asian now. So go ahead.
no, well, I mean, like, the reason why my parents came to America is, that's exactly the reason, right? Because we couldn't afford it.
Right.
So basically, So yeah, so that's we try to mimic that, and our king has been like also like God sent for our for the people, and it seems like
Mhm.
I think Queen Elizabeth also did some pretty good stuff. I mean, not as
Interesting.
much as
Now,
our king did, of course. I'm like
which
saying
is
our
interesting
king. What's that?
because you say that that's very interesting, and that goes back to my original point. Like, I hear Queen Elizabeth. Like, I'm from Jamaica, and again, we were a former Commonwealth, now we're independent. But
Oh, that's fun to know. Okay, yeah, it's
yeah,
fun to hear the gossip from inside the family.
right, right. So it's like you hear it because there was a relationship with England direct to Jamaica. So that's first
Mhm.
relationship. But then you come here to the
Mhm.
States, and the Queen's still a thing. Um, you see how many Commonwealths there are across the world, and it's like the
Yeah.
Queen's a thing there. So for me, I don't hear of kings of Africa, and if there is a king in Africa, and I'm pretty sure there are. There are kings all over. Obviously, you just said there's a Thai king, which honestly I didn't know that. I just got educated in that today.
Yeah.
So it's like the queen has always been the monarch of the world. Like if you didn't know of any other king or queen or princess or whatever have you, you always knew Queen Elizabeth. Uh, at the time, Prince Charles, Princess Diana. We don't even know anyone besides them. Like the one prince that got in
They're like
trouble.
celebrities, right?
Right, exactly. So it's like, okay, so you mentioned your king, and it's like, okay, he's done some other stuff more so maybe than the queen. Had just as long of a reign, and it's like, where was the world when he passed? Like, but
Actually,
then
it
the
was a pretty
queen
big deal. My gosh, like
was it
yeah, it was a pretty big deal. It's just that like, because like Thailand is not kind of in the forefront of anything like
right.
in terms of, I mean, especially lately that the
Mhm.
government's been taken over by like a tyrannical military, like force, right? But either
Right,
way, we used to be huge in like semiconductors and, chips and things like that too. Like
right,
Seagate has a factory in Thailand, right? Like we're big stainless
right,
steel producers, I mean like that kind of stuff. So I mean what Thailand used to be leading in, like, maybe they're not so much anymore because of the leadership. And this is why, we have this show so people know that politics does actually affect your life, right? Like as
right,
much as you
right.
want to say it doesn't, it totally does. Um, so what our king did, I mean, he
Interesting.
was, I mean, we're a much more rural country, like in general, like even back
Right,
in the capital back then, he would put in irrigation. He sorted out the whole, farming, agriculture. I mean, he just did a lot of things, like created jobs,
right,
so on and so forth. But I mean, he has the power. He owns like more than half the land in the country or something. Like, I'm not exact on
right.
that, right? Because, like, I don't wanna offend them. Because if I do offend them, I might not be able to get back in the country.
I'm
So
about to say you're cut off.
we're either gonna leave okay, we're gonna end that right there. Alright, so there goes my freedom of speech. Okay, so,
Right.
but, yeah, so basically but, like, from what I understand, the queen was also, somewhat of a figure like that. Okay, so I don't know, a lot of
Right.
people are talking about, like, colonialism and blah, all that stuff, right? I'm
Right.
thinking, like, I think in under her reign, I mean, there were freeing of slaves and giving
Mhm.
independence to different countries, like, Jamaica had their independence, right? Right
Right.
now, I don't know. I mean, did you have to fight with blood and tears and things like that, or was it like,
No, no,
you know
no,
what?
no,
We think you're
no.
all grown up now. You can.
I think it was one of those. Like I wasn't there. It was like 1960 something. So I'm not. I celebrate it every year, but it's it's weird. It's kind of like what's happening to America right now. It's like okay, Independence Day, we celebrate it, but
Oh
you
yeah, we
didn't know
don't
what
know
happened.
where it came from and what happened to it,
Right.
right? Uh-huh.
And then it's weird. And I came here so young to the states that I know more about independence than I do about the process of how Jamaica got its independence. But I'm pretty certain there was no bloodshed in the process because I don't think we would have been independent if that were the case. I don't think the Jamaican
Yeah.
military was going to win against the British Army. So
I
yeah, it's
guess
one of
like
those things.
ours. I guess the American one. When I say ours, I mean America, right? Was probably the biggest one.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like Thailand was very proud of never being colonized, like
Mhm.
ever. Was never colonized by any foreign country because what ended up happening was whenever somebody tried to take over us, like the king would slice off a piece of land and give it to them, like slice
Right.
off. So England got like the western part and the southern part. and the French got the eastern part of Thailand. They cut it all up, and then of course the Dutch were in Indonesia and whatnot. So
Right.
I mean, it's just stuff like that. So you didn't think Jamaica would be able to fight over their
Yeah,
independence?
no, we would still be
Yeah.
like I'd be with an English accent right now. But
No, so what I was gonna say was I mean, like a lot of the independence is given to all the colonies and all the Commonwealth, was actually during her reign, no? I'd say.
yes, yes. I mean, for 70
Yeah.
years, so yeah, that would fall under her umbrella.
Yeah.
But
I
I
mean,
mean,
like she's been there for
been in
forever and
office.
been in office. I know.
She got elected back in 19.
Elected
Yeah,
through
monarchy was done a little
by
different
her
back
dad.
then, right? At birth, and even I got a little more education on that, and found out that it wasn't like she wasn't supposed to be queen. Like her dad only became king because his brother abdicated the throne. So could you imagine not having a Queen Elizabeth because the original king decided, this job's not so bad. Instead, he's like, I don't like it. and I mean, me personally, I couldn't imagine the king saying like, I don't want this anymore. Like, at what point of time
No,
does a job
we also had a king. I think it was probably in trend back then, maybe because
what it was
no, I'm
trending back then?
serious. Like, okay, so Rama the Seventh, right? Or, like
Uh-huh.
the current king now is Rama the Tenth. Rama the Ninth is the one who's like neck and neck with Queen Elizabeth. So Rama the Seventh was the one who abdicated his throne, and our
Interesting.
king Rama the Ninth and Eighth were brothers. Eighth was
Uh-huh.
this like died at a young age after he was coronated, and then the ninth took over. But
Right.
the seventh was actually, he actually has his own family, but they decided not, they abdicated the throne. So,
Mhm.
our king came on. So that's,
Interesting.
yeah, a
So, and
very,
which
I
is
mean,
what
like, bloodline
it's
seeking.
all interesting. Like this whole thing, I'm learning so much through the process of her. You always hear God save the queen and these things. Unfortunately, this time was the queen couldn't be saved, but because of her passing, I've learned so much about how the monarchy works, or we actually now get to see how it works because she's been queen for so long. You watch Game of Thrones or any other um, movies or shows with kings, like a king dies, there's a successor, there's a coronation, and so on and so forth. But you've had more experience with this because you've had a king in Thailand,
Hmm.
and and hold on, that's it, right? Is that Thailand?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Taiwan doesn't have a king.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah, they have presidents.
interesting. So yes,
Hmm.
so he gets elected, not the queen. The queen doesn't
Oh
get
yeah,
go in office. She
yeah.
doesn't get
And we have a parliament, and we have
okay,
like a
right,
prime
like the
minister,
England does.
like
Yes,
the
okay,
English system. Yeah, like I said, we
right,
we try to like mimic that. I think it's
right.
like it's been there around for some time. But anyway. Hmm.
And this is, I mean, interestingly enough, I never thought I would see King Charles in my lifetime because I was not for nothing. I know he was probably even getting nervous too.
Well,
He's
you
like, listen,
thought she was immortal, so you thought we were to be Queen
yeah,
Elizabeth II forever.
I thought he was probably gonna tip the bucket before she did. I was like, man, she is holding on to this throne,
Oh
like,
yeah.
and like
I know.
and I'm seeing
You're
him get
right.
up there.
I totally thought that too. I thought like who's gonna die first? I have no idea.
So I'm like,
But
okay,
wait. Here, as a so from your family, like I just
uh,
want to know what what a typical Jamaican family like. What would they? How do they feel about like Queen Elizabeth
Mother Queen Elizabeth. So
or
it's
about
really
the
hard.
the monarch system and
It's
all that?
hard to say because I mean, Jamaicans are very interesting people. We don't care about the Queen, and I'm saying that really for me, but I don't want to say that as a complete nation. But to be honest with you, I mean, we have our own money, so we're not like dealing with, as far as like the printing on there. So we have our prime ministers on there. So as far as the Queen, she was something back then. It's not something we carried over after independence. But obviously, we
Hmm.
have family in England. Um, being Jamaican, there are relatives that moved to England. I have family from
Right.
England. When we get together, it sounds weird because it sounds like Jamaican on one side and English on the other. So when you tell people in public, like, this is my cousin, it's like, huh? So I hear them speak of the Queen. So for them, it's like, okay, they're English Jamaicans or Jamaican, but I don't know. But they care about the queen. But as far as somebody from Jamaica, like me,
Yeah.
eh, she's the queen of England. Got nothing to do with me. So that would probably be how we
So you're
feel.
more feeling like you're more independent than you. So
Correct.
I
As
mean,
a Jamaican,
was it how was your country like before? You know what I mean? Like
well,
how do
before
I say that?
when she was, to be honest with you, I would have to like,
Like what do you think was a contribution? Well, one thing I don't know. I mean, I love your education system and I don't know if that would have been in place if
yes,
I mean like most people who are
that
educated in Jamaica, I am super impressed with, right? There's like a certain
that
discipline
is
around it.
for certain.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, I
Mhm.
left Jamaica when I was very young. I left at 7, so I didn't stay. I left at what's called second form, not second grade. So
Mhm.
in the second form,
Yeah,
I knew
whatever. You
so
just
much
want to
more.
create new names for everything. No,
but
I'm kidding.
in second form, like I was much more, I think, advanced in most
Informed.
middle schools. Yeah. So at least back then. So I think coming to, it sounds really bad to say this, but coming to America kind of stunted my scholastic growth, unfortunately. And I always wondered that too, like what would have happened if I stayed in Jamaica in terms of my education. Um, I'll never know that now, but I do see a lot of very, like you said, our education system. Most people you know are very impressive. Everyone I see that has
Yeah.
graduated like post secondary or studied overseas is like extremely impressive. All my cousins that are there in Jamaica are all successful people, all well educated. They know so much. They
No, so
speak
one thing
seven
I
multiple
noticed that is
languages.
different, right? I think like they don't do multiple choice stuff. Wait, you know what I
No,
mean? It's
right?
all like, written explanations and things like that. And actually allows, I mean, you've heard like the whole writing actually creates,
Yeah,
right?
right. Absolutely.
Like exercises your brain. It like creates like, what is it?
Muscle.
Like contacts for
Yeah,
the brain cells to
mhm.
communicate with each other. It like enlivens it, right?
Yeah,
So I think, so that's something that I think
that's
is,
a
there was
yeah.
like a
We accept that.
total
We
missing there.
thank the Queen for the Jamaican education system. It is top
You think
notch.
that's where it came from?
That's absolutely where it came from. Absolutely. Um,
Okay. Uh-huh.
I'm trying to think of some things that maybe as a country we could thank the Queen for. I guess independence. That's one. We can thank her for it because it kind of came through her. But as far as what we got from England, the culture of Jamaica, the language that we speak, the Pato wouldn't be Pato without the English language, and especially the way that they speak it in England. Um,
Mhm. The way they
so
speak in England.
yeah, it's
What
they
do you
spell
mean?
things differently. It's all based on how it's done in England. It's all Queen's English.
Oh, okay, got it. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so for that, the contributions impact our culture that way.
Mhm.
So yeah, very very thankful to England and the Queen, but there's also history behind that
Yeah,
involves
no, I mean, so what I
Americans
wanted to
immigrant.
also hear
Yeah,
was like what kind of, torturous, like inhumane things that they do while they were in Jamaica?
it's very
Have you
similar to
heard? Was
American
there a
history.
history studying of that or?
And again, I didn't stay in Jamaica long enough to study the history, but just being Jamaican and being aware of certain things,
Mhm.
um, it was very similar to the American culture back then. Again, slavery wasn't. This is something I heard on the news the other day. And it's funny how we're segue into we talk about the Queen and into slavery, but um, and how it impacts not just America, but slavery was not something designed by America. This was something that affected the world. So, what happened in
No, it
Jamaica?
happened like ages ago. Yeah.
Correct, correct. And what happened in America happened in Jamaica, happened in Haiti, which that was a very interesting, very rich story with Haitians because they were the only, country to actually revolt against their taskmasters and
Yeah,
claim their independence.
weren't they the first ones
They're
to
the
like be
only ones.
emancipated,
I think they're
right?
the only ones, if I recall correctly. They're
Yeah.
the first and the only. I absolutely respect culture because of that.
Well, I think the colonizers like they're different. Like
Mhm,
the French and the English, I find most of the French colonized and all of the French people listening, like please don't take any offense. Like these are things that happened generations ago, but
right.
I'm just observing like Vietnam and Cambodia were both colonized by the French. So is
Mhm.
Laos. These were
Right.
the three of the slowest to develop countries and the most problematic, right? And as you know, like Cambodia and Vietnam are the only two communist countries in, out of like how many, five total? You know what I mean? Like there's not a lot of communist countries. Cuba's one of them, right? I guess I don't know if Venezuela's been uh,
Officially.
formally, yeah, anointed as the communist country yet, but the whole point is like Vietnam, Laos, Vietnam, like Cambodia. These are, I mean, I don't even. But anyway, the point is that like I think the French colonies are more so like oppressed
Mhm.
than the Brits were, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think like I mean, of course, like, I mean, India was like 400 years, and different rulers and governors had different ideas of how to rule things, and not
Right.
necessarily was like, dictated by the motherland, right? But um
Right.
and I'm not making excuses for that. But anyway, yeah. So what I was going to say was that like I just think that like it looks like Hong Kong is quite prosperous. Singapore was also colonized by the Brits,
Right.
right? Malaysia was also colonized by the Brits. So
Mhm.
you'd see like the development, the difference in that, right? And
Right.
then yeah, I think Burma is the only one that I couldn't. I mean, Myanmar is the only one that I couldn't put my finger on it. Like, why is it the way that it is? But
Mhm.
that's anyway, my 2 cents. So about the queen, like, did you want any last words about? I
Yeah.
mean,
I know we started on the Queen, but somehow ended up in
I know it
England,
just like went in
which is
10 different
totally cool. I
directions.
mean, that's kind of what we want. We can segue anywhere, but I mean, when it comes to the Queen again, I thought in my lifetime I'd never see her go. I thought I'd never see a King Charles. This is all kind of like surreal to me. It's not like taking up a whole bunch of headspace, but it's just like, did she really die? Did Betty White outlive the Queen of England? Like, um, because again, these are people that you grow up with. I'm 38 years old, so it's like all my life there's been a Queen Elizabeth, and now there's a King Charles, and soon there'll be a King William.
William.
Like now it all goes downhill. Beforehand, there was just Queen Elizabeth,
Well, I mean, I
only
hope I
Queen
live to
Elizabeth.
see King William because, like, I think William the Conqueror was the first king that I ever learned about
Mhm.
in history. So, you remember 1066?
Well, listen. I think you'll see a King William in your lifetime because Charles got the he got the throne kind of late. He didn't get his,
Yeah.
young as most kings.
No,
She
and like
got the
the
throne at
the
like
truth is,
27.
I think like he should just like, all right, I got it, and then like, here, take it away, you know, and
Listen,
and
he's been
and not
waiting.
have to deal with the responsibilities. But I think one thing that he wants to do is surprisingly enough, like I mean, I didn't realize he was like a fiscal conservative, but he was saying that he wanted to find ways to trim down like, the royals budget, right?
Interesting.
But the thing is, like, I think I somebody told me, I don't know with inflation if that was equated into it, but they
Mhm.
said that it costs 25 pences per year for a citizen to support the royal family. Like, I have no idea if that's true. And I don't know how much is, I mean, I don't know whatever that is. Somebody worked it out and said that that's what it cost them. So it's like, it's nothing, right? It's like
Mhm.
2 cents a day, 3 cents a day.
Yeah,
So,
but
if
he's gonna
only
cut.
like, if only our Congress would be at like 3 cents a day for us, that'd be great. But
No,
wishful
our, our,
thinking.
our, our politicians think they're royalty, so they deserve to be treated as such.
No, they
So,
absolutely do. I mean, like, doing magazine covers and, being
yeah, no,
interviewed on TV and night talk shows and things like that. But,
Nancy
well,
Pelosi wishes I could call her queen one day.
oh,
No, well,
yeah.
what? Too soon? Too soon? Yeah,
No,
no, but I mean,
I don't think she's gonna live to see that day because, like, she's
she
losing
doesn't.
it now.
Yeah, she doesn't have the queen's health
Anyway,
coverage, so she definitely ain't making it that long.
man, but like, it's gonna be exciting to see the race to, for these geezers that we have up there, because like. what are they? I mean, all they're all practically all octogenarians, right? Like, I'm not kidding. It's like,
Yeah. I know they're
wow.
like that. It's like, yeah, like they're still
What's
there.
scary is like what happened to our 40s and 50s people? Like, where are they? You know? I mean, they're busy
Uh,
like working and making a living and they don't have time. Come on, you guys,
Probably.
let's go. Let's go.
This well, this is
We need some new thoughts and ideas and stuff like that.
well. I mean,
But
I just and I guess we can segue off of that. I think our 50s and 40s and whatever. I think again, this is why I want to. This is why we do the show. We want to encourage more people to get involved in politics.
mhm.
You've got people that have made this a career since 1940 something or whatever, and they're still there.
I
Not that
know.
far. I know. I mean, I'm over. I exaggerate a bit, but feels like it. But at the same time, they've been there since before I was born. Like I'm 38 years old. Some people have been in politics for that long.
No, seriously, I don't know anybody who's hold careers that long, right? I mean, it's
No, police officers retire
yeah.
after 25 years and go do something else. Same thing with
No,
and
I
most
mean they wouldn't
people,
want to stay past that, you know. They only stay
correct,
25 because of the, the pension and all that other stuff.
right. I
But
don't think any
I mean,
politician
not to
should say
say
I
that
did
most people didn't love what they did, but I'm just saying that
right,
like, I think it was a lot of people had that drive behind it so that they could, take that money and do something else.
right.
But like for someone to take on a career for that long, like they must have to really love it. So you guys, if you
Or
want to find a
benefiting a
career
lot
you
from it.
love more than Nancy Pelosi loves her job, like I think maybe
Yes,
this is it. Maybe it's politics everybody's looking for, you know? It's
yeah,
exciting every day. I
yeah.
don't know.
I think it'd be more exciting if, like you said, the people were like almost 90, 100 years old. I'd be more excited. Like again, look what happened. I mean, just touching on this real quick with this president. Look how much attention President Trump got. Listen, I know I watched the news because it was exciting. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people, whether you liked him or not, you watched the news because it was exciting. Like
No,
you were
for me
waiting.
it was funny. It was so
It,
hilarious. It was just
yeah,
it was like
it,
let's like what is it who's he gonna give a name to today, you know? It's like I want
right,
to hear the
exactly.
nickname of that guy, you know? Like
He's like,
that's what it was to me. It was like it was humor. But I get
right,
that like, people have this thing about like, oh, like there's a certain correct way of being for a politician,
right,
you
and he
know,
was not
for
that. So it's like
and
you
he
couldn't wait
wasn't
to see.
presidential and,
He
things
was
like that. But
he was the unpolitician. Trump was the
yeah.
original unpolitician, and again, it was exciting to watch him. So and it's again, I would love to be. I'm into politics. I'm on the show, and again, I'm dubbing myself the unpolitician because as much as I'm into politics, I don't enjoy watching politics because sometimes it can be very dry and boring. Um, I want to get to the meat and potatoes of the politics. Like, explain to me, break it down, give it to me layman terms. Like, make it exciting, make it fun to watch. And I get it as somebody who's like, now that I'm involved because I know how it impacts me. I watch it and I try to pull that out. If it doesn't resonate with you, you're not going to sit there and watch. It's not. No one watches C-SPAN and says, "Hey, listen, I can't wait to get home and turn on C-SPAN and see what happens." Like, what are they going to vote
But see,
guess on
that's what
today?
this whole politics thing is all about, right? That's why it's
Hmm.
like, when people simplify things and come out and say stuff, it's like it seems so much more interesting to listen to.
Right,
Like I was giving someone an example today was like the don't say gay bill, right? Like
right,
yeah, there was no word in that bill that says don't say gay, right? But
right.
it makes it juicy and exciting. And what we're hoping to do is for to make juicy and exciting but
Mhm.
factual enough for audience to
Right, there you go.
understand, you know what
Right,
I mean?
I
Not
think
understand,
factual.
but
Yeah,
to have an opinion on, and something that you can
right.
trust with information. So yeah, I mean, we'd like to make it fun and juicy and all that too.
Yeah,
So yeah, help
we
us and
want to
let
make it
us know
fun, juicy,
what
but clear. But
topics you would like to hear about. Like what do you want to hear about?
yes,
Um,
people,
we
please, like,
can
yeah, people
particular.
reading the
This
bottom,
this
like,
means like we could talk about legislation. We could
mhm,
talk about politicians, like
mhm,
what is it about that politician? Like why should you vote or not vote for that person? I mean,
Right,
that's what we're out to do. This is the show as we are rolling this out, and mind you,
right.
we all have day jobs, right? So this is kind of a like extracurricular activity for us.
But a very fun one. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah,
No, we
and actually
love we
very
love it,
necessary.
so we're willing to do this and be there for you for the
Very
audience for
necessary.
sure.
We need as many
Hmm.
people trying to get perspective on politics or politicians or
Hmm.
legislation or on, and again, just creating a dialogue. Um, there's not enough of it. What really ignited me was to know that, and again, I paid attention to other things because of President Trump. Because of him, I was like, let me watch both news channels and see what both of them were saying. Like, let me really figure out if this is. I wanted to know the facts. I didn't just take things at face value that any politician said. Even with Trump, I know he said a lot of things that were very factual. But again, I wanted to get perspective. I wanted to educate. I wanted to inform myself, and I hope that we can do that with this show. I hope that other politicians can inspire people to want to learn about why to vote for. I hope people just don't say vote for me because look at my hair, and that really wins your vote. This is not about being a popularity contest. Like high school, prom queen, class president, popularity contest. When it comes to like my senator, my mayor, my governor, my president, I don't need you to be popular. I need you to be effective. I'm trying to make money, spend less on taxes, not get bothered in the process of enjoying raising my family. Like I want to have that American dream, and the right politician gives you that dream. The wrong politician makes it a nightmare. So that's
Yeah.
how I view politics. And um,
Yeah, the thing is like sometimes like they don't, like the name might have already stuck and it can't be unstuck,
mhm,
so you go into the voting poll and you're like, oh my God, this is the last day, let's do it. Okay, you look at the list and then you just mark it off. Like, we don't want you to do that. We would love for you to be an informed voter, and this is why we have kind of a representative government, because they knew what the Greeks did, right? Like the whole democracy thing. And they did say that like democracy only works if people are educated. And I don't mean that like by having a degree or anything. I meant like
like information,
you know your politicians who you're voting for.
right,
That's the education that you need. And I think that's the
right,
most important thing. Like, as far as it's concerned, I don't, you know, I'm not for or against college. Like, I'm just very
right,
neutral about it. Like, do whatever you want.
right. This
Yeah,
is
but I
America.
think like you should, yeah, you should know your politicians. You should know
Right.
the people who represent you, because like, if you're gonna sign your life savings off to somebody, and essentially
Mhm,
that's what a politician's doing, right? I mean, like,
mhm.
that is your life
Yeah.
savings,
Listen,
you know?
I didn't really care about voting until I saw the first tax return I got that I owed money on. I was like, what? What? You're like, yeah, because the president did this.
That's
Now
funny.
this is happening, so now you get less money back. And I'm like, less
Right.
money? It's not less. I owe money. Like what? 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 So now I'm like, how do I get this to stop? It's like, well, vote. So I'm like, all right, now I want to vote. And then the more mature you get, the more life becomes real. Like you go through school and your parents take care of you. You don't really care about things that happen because your parents govern your life or your house or whatever have you. So you get out, you live on your own, and as a student you get money back. So you're like, yeah, tax return money. But when you're done with school and you're an adult for real, your tax bracket and how much you make, and what penalties are going to apply to you, whether you're single or have kids or whatever, which legislation impacts you by what state you live in or what municipality or what your housing, um, your houses, uh, was it property taxing, house millage, all those things. Now you're like, whoa, no one had a class about this and saying who I vote for impacts this and the money and how I spend it. So that was one thing, and then obviously I got into school board politics. I have kids, um, so you don't really care about school board or PTA meetings or soccer practices until you have kids. So that's when it's like, okay, the person that's Like, say for instance, because you know about me and being in Volusia County and Broward County and all that stuff. So Broward County, there's been an issue, and then this is one of the things I wanted to touch on anyway was school board politics while we are on the show. But
Hmm.
how far behind Broward is as far as the rest of the state. So Broward County,
The
obviously,
rest
there's
of the state or the rest of the country?
everybody else but Broward, or remind me that so there's some issues down south, but again, I know that metal detectors have been on everyone's mind. Like, why don't the school have metal detectors? Obviously, you had what happened at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, and there's constant scenarios in the news where there's kids bringing guns to schools or weapons to schools, and this is not just like every couple of years. This is every year. This is several times a year that happens in Broward County. And the best they did was say, "Listen, we'll bring in some of those wands and wand you down at random." There was like one incident that happened in Volusia County, and guess what? All the schools are getting metal detectors. That was on the news today. And I'm like, that's how quick we respond. And then parents are supportive, like, yeah, it should have been done a long time ago. Put some metal detectors in there. Like, this is how quick we solve problems, and again, it matters in who you put in there and the community you live in, because again, in Volusia County, we want our kids to be safe. Put some metal detectors in there. In Broward County, they want their kids to be safe. Let's have a debate about what we should do. Like, you're not. Let's put things in place to get things done. Like, let's not debate about it. That doesn't solve problems. So, um, that's what it means to vote for people. That's what the difference between the school board here in Volusia County and the school board there in Broward County. So, and masks were never an issue here in Volusia. Never. I was never required to send my child to school with a mask on. However, my child did choose to go to school with a mask on Sunday. Some days she chose to, some days she didn't. If somebody was sick in the classroom, she's putting the mask on. If everybody was fine, she was taking it off. She had a choice. And that was the difference here in Bush versus Broward. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I think that, and then it helps us exercise judgment too, right? Can
Yes,
you hear me?
absolutely. I can hear you.
I feel like there's an echo or something.
Nope.
Okay. Yeah.
Nope.
Probably
So
it's
yeah,
just my
it's
headphone. Anyway, go ahead.
so that's the interesting, when you live in two different counties or you travel back and forth between two different counties, you have two different experiences. So throughout the pandemic, I had two different experiences, um, and it was just very interesting. And again, those two different experiences are based on elected officials and how people vote and how your life can be so different based on who you vote for. And that's why it's important to know who you're voting for. And it was very uncomfortable going to Broward County throughout the pandemic. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go into Publix. Let me go get my mask. I had to be reminded every. It's like, I'm going. So people look at me funny because I didn't have a mask on, and it's like, why? I'm like, oh, I'm in Broward County.
Oh my
It was
God.
weird because in Volusia, like, no one cared. If you want to wear a mask,
Right.
wear it. You didn't
No, I
want to
think
wear
like
a
on
mask.
the west coast of Florida, they were all like, seniors were shopping at Publix without masks on. People were like,
Yeah,
"Oh my God, nobody's wearing a mask," and they're like the highest risk people. So funny. But
it was
I don't know. I
interesting.
think like people should be responsible for whatever it is that they choose to do, and that's
Well,
it. And
absolutely.
you know what I mean? Like what I was saying about your kid was that like your kid got to exercise judgment, like
Hmm.
determine what was
Absolutely.
safe for her or him, right? Her,
It was her.
her,
It was my oldest daughter.
yeah, safe for her, and then
Hmm.
decide on what to do. Otherwise,
Right.
like we're just waiting for orders. Like, should I put
Yep.
on a mask? Only if you tell me. I mean,
Yeah.
like, why are we raising robots or or just
Right. Exactly.
yeah, I
No,
think
she.
it's good to
I was
teach
very
them like
happy with.
there's responsibility. Like if you feel safe, you feel unsafe, like you make the
Yeah.
call.
Exactly. And it was. And to believe it or not, the numbers here in Volusia County were not bad at all. As far as I don't know what they were reporting
No, well,
statewide.
they already determined that masks did
Yeah.
nothing to spread,
No.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, Johns
Totally
Hopkins
fine.
did a study.
Mhm.
I mean, like whether we masked up or locked down, and would not have made a difference at all.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm
Isn't
glad that
that
I live in a place
freaking
that did
nuts? Like,
that.
uh, I
Listen,
mean,
I'm
like,
so
and
glad.
all that for nothing. I mean, like, oh my God, it was
Yep.
terrible.
yeah, that's pretty much what happened. All that for nothing. That's ultimately what it boiled down to. And again, it's perspective. I don't judge, and I don't judge anyone. Let me say it to all the viewers out there. I don't judge anyone for the decision that they made to mask up or the vaccine or to do whatever.
No, I mean, I don't either, but I
Right,
was just thinking
right.
like the
But I do.
fact that the government just blew it completely,
Yes, exactly. I
like, and affected us not only, I mean, like all the, because they forced us to lock down, they were forced to pay us,
right, which again
right?
created
Because
a
like,
whole other
which
problem.
they shouldn't be doing, so they paid us,
Yes,
and I think that money was rightful because the government decided to, to lock us down.
right. But that
But
created a whole.
then it caused all kinds of fraud and,
Yeah.
Anyway, wait, did we finish all the topics we wanted to talk about today?
No, we didn't. But I think we got 20 minutes to cover everything else. We want. We definitely listen. We
We have
definitely need to
10.
get back.
We have 10 minutes left.
Well, if you're going by the time, I'm going by the amount of time we've been on live. We owe it to our audience to give them an extra 10 minutes.
Oh, okay,
I'm
okay,
okay with that.
okay, okay. Well, then
I don't got nothing to
perfect.
do. My
Then we
kids
have
will be in
20
bed by
minutes.
the time. But very important now that we're speaking about now that we've left England and Asia and we're talking about um, things that are affecting America and Florida especially. Let's shift gears to New York and what affected the entire country as far as 9/11. 9/11 was this month, everybody. I don't know if you remember it or not, but it was the last Monday. Man, that's messed up. I'm trying to do think
It was
about
10
remembering
days
how
ago
it
because it's
was
like
10 days
it's
ago.
9:21.
Listen, I've got a newborn, so like 10 days ago feels like last year. Okay, like you get no sleep. I don't. Yeah, well, you get sleep, but it's like so. Real quick before we go to 9/11, just want to touch on this. You ever seen the
Wait, how do
movie?
I do this? Hold on.
I don't know.
Okay, here we go.
I'm letting you do it. I don't know how to do
Sorry.
it. You ever seen Inception, the movie Inception, about how you go inside this dream world and it takes like forever? Now, even though it's like seconds into reality, but it's like days in your dream state. That's how
Right.
you feel with a newborn. So you get like hours of sleep here, hours of sleep there. So like
Yeah.
in your dream states, it's like days and weeks and all kinds of different things happening in your head. And then you wake up and you're like, oh, it's only been an hour. So yeah, for me, like 10 days ago, it really seems like that long ago. So 9/11 was 10 days ago. And no, this is the first time in my adult life because I was 17 when 9/11 happened. Was I? No,
Mhm.
I was 16. So this is the first time that we as a country kind of just like, where did 9/11 go? There was no fire trucks holding flags, at least not that I saw. There was no parade, not parades, but like there was no memorial services that would normally take place. There was no news coverage on what was going on that would normally be a thing on September 11th. There was nothing. It was just Sunday. And there was something that I saw the following, well, days to come actually, where some people actually went out and, went to young people and was like, hey, do you know what day yesterday was? And they were like, Sunday, you know. Well, if today is September 12th, then yesterday was, they're like, Sunday. And like no one thought like 9/11. So it was the first time. So I'm curious to know how you felt about that because and also our viewers. So if anyone's watching this or goes back and watch this and they want to leave a comment or say,
Right, I know.
yeah,
We'd like to
our
hear your
contact,
comment about.
yeah, comment, tag us on Instagram or Facebook. The handles are there at the bottom. Um, we've got a Facebook page. I don't know if this connects to that, Lynn. Does it?
It does, but we haven't gone live on it yet, so we're gonna do that next
Eh,
time.
it's Political Pulse Live on Facebook. Search it. It's
Right.
a search bar.
I know,
So
and follow
and
it,
and ask,
okay? And then we would love to hear your comments on it.
yeah,
Um,
comment, ask questions. We're tangible. We're real people. We're not robots. So we will respond. I love responding to these questions. So ask questions about 9/11 and how you feel about where did it go this year? Because that's a very good question. Like I almost felt like
now I
I
I
missed it.
felt I felt that it was downplayed, and it was
Yeah, absolutely.
and they try to make J6, which is January 6th,
Hmm.
like a bigger
Oh,
deal
J6
than
is what it's called now. J6. So
it's
it's like
yeah,
nine
it's
eleven
J6
J6.
now, yeah.
These all these
So
names sound like Korean pop groups.
Korean pop, like boy bands.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, they're
Like 9/11,
yeah. Well,
J6.
9/11. With respect to 9/11, that was the first one that it's 9/11. But J6 sounds like it's gonna have like some Korean girl and guy
No,
come
that's
out and
true.
pop and lock on
It
stage or
does.
something.
So, no, I mean they were equating the two. And I'm okay,
Uh-huh.
what happened was terrible, right? January 6th for
Right.
me was like, oh my God, what idiots. Like, why did you go in? You didn't have to go
Mhm.
in. Going in doesn't make a difference. Going in did
Right.
not change anything and did not make anything better, for sure. Right.
Right.
But like
Absolutely not.
comparing it to 9/11 is this is a
Yeah.
different,
Not on the
like,
same level.
this is
Not at
so
all.
not the same, right? I mean,
Not at
like,
all.
not at all. Like, and that's how they're downplaying this 9/11 thing. So, I mean, we've had,
That's sad.
presidents and elected officials who would not denounce, like radical Muslims and stuff like that,
Mhm.
that, caused 9/11. I mean, the whole country went to war for that,
Correct.
I mean, like, we went to, that's where Afghanistan all came about, right?
Right.
So it was huge. And like, there were 3,000 lives lost almost. Well, I mean, if
Right.
we count all the, I don't know how many people are counted, but if you count all the first responders and stuff, we've lost a lot of first responder lives. People didn't come back. They went to work that day, never came back home.
Right.
Um, I mean, my friend was working in one of the buildings, and he went to go get coffee. As he was walking out, right, he
Hmm.
saw that plane and he just ran to the subway station and got home. So I was like, I can't believe you got so lucky you weren't in the building. But if they were
Right.
in the building, like, I don't know what, I mean, that would have been, it's a tragedy. So it's
Right.
just to compare January 6th, where one protester died, right?
Right.
Protest, right? I forgot her name, but I know she was an ex-military or ex-navy lady,
Hmm.
right? And
Then the police officer that died a few days later in the hospital.
yeah, and then an officer died a few days later, but not from
Mhm.
not from
Not from
like
that.
an
Yeah. That,
injury,
yeah.
or like he wasn't stabbed or anything like that. It was just he had a stroke,
Right.
or so I understand, right? And that was it. And like, no
Right.
lives were lost. But yes, principle wise, like, doing what they did was, I think, was not right at all.
Hmm.
Right? They should not have done that. It's just so ridiculous. And
Hmm.
a lot of the social media that was saying, like, oh, they can actually, like, not not approve the electoral, right?
Hmm.
Like like the like, Pence can actually do that. But the truth is, like, they can't. Like,
Hmm.
this was just a formality. It was a constitutional thing. They just wanted to make it formal, and that was that. There was nothing anybody could have ever done. And to put that, to rest, like, they tried to do that in 2016 when
Hmm.
Trump won, and it didn't work either. Like, Joe
Right.
Biden also, what is the word, like, not validated, but I mean, like, oh my gosh, the word is gone. But anyway,
Hmm.
my point is that, like, there was nothing to be done. And
Right.
yeah, but one life lost, and like this whole hoo-ha. And I'd like to know why they are clocking in and out of this hearing, like, on my salary, like when I'm paying their salary, right?
Right. 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 Right.
Like, I
No.
want you to go fix other problems right now.
No. But I mean, to compare it to 9/11 is a big. Like we said, the casualty count was one thing. Like you're comparing 2 to 3,000 lives lost. You really there's no comparison. It's a sad thing whenever someone's life is lost. But you had
Right.
something that 21 years ago. Am I doing this right? More than
Yeah,
that.
21.
So that's why I have a wife. So she does all my math. So 21 years ago, we have a country that came together because of something that happened to the country. and 20 at that point in time, 20 years later, um, you have, or 19 years later, it would be 19 if it was in 2020. Was it 2020? Yeah, I'm messing up all my dates. Um, you have a quote unquote insurrection that takes place that's literally tearing the country apart. And it wasn't so much the insurrection that is tearing the country apart, it's the fact that you're doing a lot of finger pointing at people and saying they're to blame and they're to blame and who this is responsible and he's responsible and we got to hold. We're just tearing the country apart. And based on what your views are, who you believe is right or wrong, that you have families tearing apart. So you have something that brought the country together and it's something that's dividing people and families apart. You can't compare the two. 9/11 and J6 are not the same thing, you know. And to say that this is more important that's going on now, this is this is more um, catastrophic to our nation than what happened 21 years ago is mind-boggling because that affected everyone years ago. This only affects you if you're kind of politically, you know, in that arena. Like
My God,
if you
you had
actually
people
pay attention
mourning all over the country, right? I mean, all over the
over
world.
for J6
No,
or
for
for 9/11.
9/11,
Absolutely, absolutely.
right? Everybody was pissed. Like we were
Mhm.
just, oh my God, no, this is not happening. Like you can't just do that. Like you
Right,
take a plane, you drive innocent people's lives into a building, and then like it kills another couple of hundred, thousand people
right.
underneath that building. Like, what do that's unheard of. Like, I mean, that's
Right,
why everybody agreed to this whole, TSA and like checking
right.
the bags and all that other crap, right? I mean, like the entire world
Mhm.
changed in terms of like air travel and safety under
And
that
right,
one incident,
transportation in
right?
general, like everything.
Yeah.
Not even just transportation, but
So
how you go to watch a baseball game or sporting or anything. You know, because you have
seriously.
to check
No, so
everything.
that's I mean like that's it's completely different. Like this is like I don't know. Okay, so basically what I see is I see it's like they're just trying to erase history, right? And trying to inflate certain things over
Right,
so as to convince us to do something. I mean, I'm really curious what they're trying to convince us to do by validating J6.
right. That's a very good point. And I mean they're writing this. They're hoping until the wheels fall off because again, this is something that honestly I don't think about. It happened when it happened. I was like, "Whoa, this is really happening." But now it's like, it happened.
Yeah.
9/11, we could watch that video over and over again and still be in that same place 21 years ago.
Uh-huh.
January 6th, I watch it, I'm like, it happened. Stop playing it. Like, let's move on. The guy got in office. These things,
Now then you see cops going, "Come on in, come on in."
I'm
And
leaving that
you're
part
like,
alone.
okay, which part is wrong here? Like,
Yeah, they're
is
like,
it the
come on
cop
in.
waving, come on in? Or is it like the guys who went in? Like, wait a minute. They
Yeah,
said no. If the whole time you see police officers going, get out of here, don't come in, don't come in, right? Then
yeah,
you totally get it. But here's like waving in. They're walking in
mhm,
there, they're sitting on the table, on the dais or whatever. And these
right,
guys are like putting their feet up and he's not saying anything.
right. Yep, exactly.
Like,
And yeah,
wait a
I
minute.
know.
So
I watched this guy. He's like chilling there. He's like, I'm like, how did
yeah,
he
he's
get the
sitting
camera?
there. I mean,
He
the
has some
guy with
really good
that
camera
buffalo
angles.
horn, and he's like sitting there, like,
Yeah,
yeah, hey, how you doing? And
it
the
was
cops
way
are
too
talking to him,
casual
like,
for. It was the most casual insurrection I've ever seen. Like,
no, see, so that's my thing. Like, it's like, okay, so I mean, in this case, should we also, indict all the police officers that were there because
yeah,
they were in agreement, or they were colluding, they were, they were
there, 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 there's
co-conspirators.
there's a lot of things. The whole thing just smells like I've
It's
heard this
just
term.
it's going to manipulate us in some way, and I have
Yeah,
no idea what it is. I mean, like,
yeah,
well, I have some ideas, but I mean, these are all allegations or speculation, so
right. And
I'm
I
just
don't
gonna
want to
leave
go
it at
too
that.
far. Yeah, I don't want to go because we could
But
all
I
have
mean, if you
speculation.
want to say something about this in the audience and you want to like comment on it, I'd be happy to hear.
Yeah, I would love to
Um,
hear audience comments on this because there's so much they could say. There's so much
yeah,
they could say. I mean, again, it's J6. Um, still sounds like a K-pop group. It's you know
Anyway.
it's it happened. I couldn't believe it happened, but it did. But it's not at the same level. It's no way in comparison to what happened on 9/11, and that should not take precedent. It should not be the forefront of news media, and we should have not skipped over 9/11 this year. That's
Hmm.
something that brought America together. We should, and then when our children are disconnected from that, when they say things like Juneteenth is more important than 9/11, that was said, by the way. That's on film. I can find a YouTube video at time. He was like, Juneteenth was more important than 9/11. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So it's like, and again, our
No,
youth, there
that's total nonsense, right? I mean,
is, yeah.
okay, wait. I'm not saying. Okay, so now it's two different things though. When people are talking about Juneteenth,
Mhm,
right? I mean, like, mind you, back then we didn't have the internet, we didn't have cell phones. I mean,
mhm.
news got there a little slow, and it could have been intentionally blocked. Who knows,
Right.
right? Yeah, because I mean, there were people who wanted to keep slaves because it was, prosperous to do so. I mean,
Mhm.
it was beneficial for them, meaning they
You
didn't
mean
have to
kind of like how
hire
they want to
people.
keep immigrants the way that is profitable to them? But anyway, so
Well, okay, sounds kind of familiar. So
yeah,
no, it's pretty much the same thing, right? People wanted cheap labor, and they
mhm,
what better way than to just keep them and not let them know that. And there's also a possibility that the slave owners or the landlords did not even know that either.
it's also very again because news never traveled to them, and or
Right.
maybe
It's
one
not like,
person got
we
the
have
news, and that one
planes and
person just
trains
didn't
are
convey it.
available everywhere. And,
Mhm.
I mean, they were still riding around in horseback. So,
Right.
I mean, I don't want to speculate on that because, like, but the truth is, like, I think, I mean, we're not the first to emancipate
Mhm.
slaves, but I mean, okay, now we're going to go into slavery, which I don't want to do. We're going
Slavery's
to
been
stick to
pulling
nine
us back
eleven.
in. It's been pulling us in all night.
I know, right? Like, we're just,
Like
anyway,
everything is circles around slavery. But no,
no, but
the
basically, like, I think that it's two different things. I get that, like, constitutionally, right? And I we should not, like, we should not be treating people anywhere like slaves. But
no,
I'm
well,
telling you,
absolutely.
like, in modern day, like, I think that if you're someone who uses labor for your work and you pay taxes, like, the slave owner is the government.
Mhm.
Right? Am I
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because you are working for that government for sure, right? So
hundred
it's
percent.
like, you can look at these parallels in so many different ways, and you could see that. Like, I think taxation is just, like, completely a ripoff, right? Like, I think the
Yeah,
government should do something to earn their own money, and
Mhm.
do right by themselves. And of course, like, we do get to pay, and to support some of that, but
yeah, but
like,
not at the price of, oh, we need more, so we're gonna tax you
yes, exactly.
more.
If
Like
they want to do that, like, why don't you sell some stuff off and, like, build some stuff and produce some things. All right, let's do it.
yeah, exactly.
I mean,
I agree.
yeah. Hmm.
I
Or,
agree.
like, outsource it and have the private entity make money off of it, but you have to make sure that you control it and not have it control the people. But anyway, so yeah, so we're looking at that. But as far as 9/11 is concerned, I think, like, like, there's radical forces around the country, around the world, right? I
Mhm.
think that's, like, this is like a Putin, right? But it's just in the Middle East.
Yeah,
We've got bad wrongdoers everywhere, and these people actually mean harm to our people and our way of life. It's like,
yeah,
and it's clear, right? Like, if you look at how they treat women in their own country, how they treat people, men or anybody in their country, you know that they're not happy. They don't like
yeah.
it when everybody's prospering. I mean, like, and I can just draw a parallel between the society, what we have here, and what they have. They
Mhm.
think what we have is harmful, right?
Right.
I happen to like what we have, so,
Right.
harm nothing. So
I mean, no, I like what we have, but it's not for nothing. It's starting to get very sketchy. But
oh yeah. I mean, I like what we had. I mean,
right, right. And I mean, we still have it. There's still a handle on it, but it's getting
yeah, but
sketchy.
we really have to we do get to
We need to
fight to
reel it
keep
back
it.
in.
Yeah,
We need to reel it back in.
exactly.
It's getting away. It's getting away. We need to reel it back in.
Oh my gosh, it's an hour now. Wait, okay. So what else did we want to talk about, or you want to save it for next week?
We'll say it for next week. I think we did good. I mean, we had some stuff. Hopefully, people, their brains are stimulated. They're thinking about stuff. They got some questions. And they can, again, come to our Facebook page, The Political Pulse Live, or, again, Bill Reichert,
YouTube.
at Bill Reichert, or it's on YouTube, Political Pulse Live as well. Then there's at Bill Reichert, at Linsu So Flow. I like the So Flow part. And then the Unpolitician. My handle is on Instagram as the
Yeah, the
Unpolitician.
unpolitician. I love
That's
it.
right. Trying to make a movement, get more people, trying to get less government in our politics. So
Yeah. I mean, like it would really help to not have
that's what
all
about
I mean,
slogan.
like
I don't know what
we need
is
to
that
bring
part.
fresh thoughts and ideas and,
Yeah.
people into the mix. Like it's the same stuff. I mean, ugh.
Listen, I just thought of a slogan. I'm gonna say it when we're not live because I don't want nobody else to steal my thing. But I'm gonna put it on my t-shirts. So
Okay, what are you
I,
gonna
I,
put?
my new
What do
slogan. I
you
didn't want to say it live because I don't know who's out here to capitalize off my good stuff.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, okay. Well,
the
you'll tell me
unpolitician.
later.
I'll tell you later, but it's definitely the unpolitician, the movement. So, but yeah, no, we did
Awesome.
good. We did great. Audience members, as always, it's a pleasure to have you. We hope you continue to watch. We hope we continue to grow. Hope we continue
Yes.
to inform you.
Subscribe
Next
to our
time you see me,
channels or, follow our pages and things like that. Like
yep.
that would be great.
And then next time you see
Okay.
me, hopefully, I'm gonna get a haircut. It's been the first one like a month because my barber's in Broward. So I've been here with a newborn. This is what it looked like when you have a newborn. But as of tomorrow morning, I'm gonna be fresh faced as my baby. So I'm excited.
Cool.
So till the next time we meet, folks, you guys all have a great night.
And we'll have Bill
And
with us next time. So
yeah,
be
Bill's
sure to
out
catch
there
us live.
doing political stuff, like being. Hopefully, we're gonna have Senator Bill soon. So,
Awesome. Okay. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a great evening. And we'll see you next week.
all
Bye.
right, bye.